Hello and welcome to Rise. Today we are in the Prophet and Purpose series, and I'm so excited about our guest today. His name is Derek Rydall, and he is such a master in delivering his message. Before I'm going to read his bio, I just want to tell you that when I was on his website, I was binge watching everything he had to say. It just felt hitting home. It felt so aligned with my message, with this summit topic. And I'm so excited for you guys to be able to hear his wisdom and what he has to say. So here we go. He is part of a new generation of spiritual visionaries and thought leaders. Derek Rydall is #1 best-selling author of Emergence, 7 Steps for Radical Life Change, which reveals the revolutionary principle, the Law of Emergence, showing people how to tap into the pattern of perfection in any area of their life and create the right conditions for it to unfold. And the Abundance Project, that's another book, 40 Days to More Wealth, Health, Love, and Happiness, where he lays out a time-tested system for activating the abundance principle, which sets you free from the beliefs that outer conditions determine your life and shows you how to generate everything you need, no matter what conditions you face. Who doesn't want that, right? Rydall's diverse background includes training top executives at Fortune 500 companies, including American Express and the Walt Disney Company, in empowered leadership and communications and coaching celebrities and media professionals, including Oscar and Emmy winners, on creating conscious entertainment. Woo. As a contributor to top blogs, a frequent podcast guest, and the host of his own top-rated Emergence podcast, he shares cutting-edge spiritual principles and success strategies to help you achieve financial freedom, master productivity and creativity, and live your greatest life work at the highest level of success. Oh my word. Welcome, welcome, Derek. So great to have you here.
It's my honor and pleasure to be here. Unfortunately, we're out of time because that resume is too long, but.
You know what? What you're doing is so very amazing that I just wanted to give it the time and space that it deserves. I feel that your work is now more valuable than ever before, because especially after COVID, where many people had to reevaluate their life, many had to pivot and really ask some questions about why they're here, what is the purpose of life. I think we all faced death threat in some level, right? And that is reigniting many questions. And so let's dive right in. And I would love you to talk about the emergence and what do you mean by that? What is the art of emergence?
Yeah, well, first of all, I want to absolutely acknowledge, I mean, what we've been through, it's the first time we've ever been through this in all of our lives. And we are really moving through still what I would say is an Armageddon or an apocalypse in the true sense of the original meaning of the word, which is the breakdown and the destruction of the world as we knew it, the concepts and the constructs. And apocalypse means what was hidden is revealed. It literally means the lid is taken off. And so for a lot of us, we discovered, we're stuck at home with our kids. We discovered how much we wish we didn't have kids or how much we love our kids. We're stuck at home with our partner and we're like, I'm getting a divorce, or we fell more in love, or we had more kids, whatever the situation is. we've all gone through, or a lot of us have gone through something and are still going through. And it's really important to know that wasn't the end of it. That was really the beginning of a major turning in consciousness and the unraveling of a lot of ideas about, what the world is and what's possible and who we are. It's a very fertile experience. And historically, during these kind of times, many challenging things rise around the world, government-wise and all that, but also many new leaders rise up. And it's a very fertile time for us to have a deeper commitment to our mission and our purpose for being here. Think of it like soil is made up of everything that is died and decayed. It becomes soil. And so the richest, darkest, most fertile soil is made up of a lot of stuff that has fallen and broken down and decayed. And so we're in a time of very fertile soil if we're willing to, even though it might feel bad and it might feel scary and it might feel out of control. And I can tell you personally, I've gone through over the last couple of years, some very intense stuff myself as I've deepened my own personal growth. I went through a tragedy and the loss of my own child. So I know, and the love of my life, so I know what it means to go through pain and suffering and tragedy and a lot of different things. So that's important to know, that we are moving through something very rich, very fertile, very powerful, and it can be very painful at times. And emergence is a principle that I discovered when I went through a period like this 20 some years ago, when I nearly died. I had 2 near-death experiences and my life was falling apart, and I was doing all the right things, but nothing was going right. In fact, it seemed to be going more and more wrong. And in a moment, I won't go into the whole story. They can see the story in the book Emergence or in many of my videos. I had a vision or revelation or a realization that the self that I was trying to hold together or improve or fix or attract more with and all that stuff, that he was a fictional character, that he was an amalgamation of societal conditioning and parental fantasies and peer pressure, and he was a character, right? But behind him, or all around him, was the real self. And I saw this in a flash, and the real self was perfect. He didn't need to be improved. He couldn't be improved, in fact. Self-improvement was an oxymoron. I could not improve upon it. He also wasn't broken or damaged or lacking in any way. So there was nothing to heal or fix about him. He was whole, complete, perfect, a perfect something. I couldn't really put the words to it, but it shifted my life radically. And I decided to become a monk. That didn't work out so well. Funny story. Again, you'll read about it in one of my books. But I went into a deep process, and I began to understand, as I looked at nature, that just as the tree is already in the seed, or as the example I use, the oak tree is already in the acorn. The acorn doesn't go out and achieve an oak or attract an oak or make an oak happen. And it doesn't improve itself into an oak. Like an acorn is not just a nut that is aspiring to be an oak one day and is going to like figure it out and improve itself and, achieve oakhood. Or maybe it'll become an apple tree. No, the oak is the truth about the acorn. And not only is it in the pattern of the seed, but it's in the field of the seed. So in quantum physics, we know, and also spiritually speaking, or some of you may know Plato's allegory of the cave, meaning in reality, there's already everything. And so the oak tree is alive, is a being in the field of the acorn. And just like your favorite music is playing right now where you are, but you can't hear it. It's not manifest unless you tune the dial of your radio to the frequency where that music is playing. When your frequency matches the frequency of that song, of that station, the station becomes manifest. You have a manifestation, right? So, and that music is suddenly here. Where was it before you came into alignment with that frequency? It was right here. It was playing as much as it ever is playing. It's just you weren't in alignment with that frequency, so it could not manifest through the structure called a radio. Well, the same is true, the oak tree. It's there. And nature and evolution is working to create the right condition, an alignment with that pattern. And when it does, oak emerges, right? So the acorn doesn't make an oak happen. The acorn, with nature's help, makes the oak welcome. It creates the condition for oak to emerge. So I saw that, and that's true with everything. Everything that appears on this planet has appeared from a pattern, from a perfect seed, out of this quantum field. And you are the same. We are the same. There is a perfect pattern of infinite potential, of divine purpose, of sovereign power, and of inexhaustible prosperity. And it's already done. Perfect. Cannot be improved upon, cannot be diminished or destroyed. And that is within us. As I like to say, it's planted in the soil of our soul. And it's not only within us as a potential, it's literally, it's the song of our soul that's broadcasting right now, the beat of abundance, the symphony of success, the rhythm of joy. It's here. And we need to tune the dial of our consciousness, of our heart, to come into alignment with that station that our song is playing on. And as we do, it emerges. And we'll talk more about what that is. But that's the general principle of the law of emergence. It's already here. You're already it. When the conditions are right, it emerges.
I love it. I just love everything you said. And I think that, you know, by us being here, all of us, we are already winners. It takes so much of life's miracle and mystery to get a fertilized egg. The odds are, you know, and by us being here in this body, we are already winners. And as you
said, it also
it's
guarantees, it's already the evidence that we have a purpose.
exactly.
Because nothing shows up in this world except that it is called into expression as a purpose, as a real need, as a prayer, as an answer to a prayer or the solution to a problem. It doesn't show up otherwise. We're talking on this technology right now. It didn't just happen. It was called into happening because of a need, right? You're sitting on a chair. Where did that chair come from? It came where the principle of support is eternally expressing, but it came as the result of a need. So the fact that you're here, that we're here, is already guarantee you have a destiny, you have a purpose. And it also is a guarantee, like every seed that shows up, that you also already have everything you need to achieve it.
Right. And I also want to add on to that, that life experiences and especially the hardships and the challenges and the adversities are part of that initiation for you to be more of who you are, so that you can share more of that beautiful song, that beautiful music of your soul, as you so beautifully said it, right?
Exactly. And that's a big piece of what I talk about, obviously, and teach. It's true for everybody. It's especially important to understand this if you want to be a person that makes a difference in the world, if you want to make an impact, and really know, what am I made for? Like, what is that specific path? What is that mission? What is that, you know, if you're an artist or an author or a teacher or a healer or a parent or whatever, it's important to understand that you're not merely here to like read something in a book and then go do that. Your whole life has been preparing you. It's the workshop that you've been living. That's the workshop you're meant to be giving, right? And whether it's literally a workshop or it's a work of art or it's whatever, you know, your whole life has been developing you, just like everything else in nature, everything else in evolution. it's going through a journey and a process, and all of that is used. All of that has developed in you unique wisdom and unique understanding. And then it's important to know, just a generally thing, like you just said, that the crises we experience in our life, just like again in nature, when there's a forest fire, when it happens naturally, it's designed to do a lot of really good stuff. It actually burns down old trees, it opens up the canopy, it fertilizes the ground, and it melts the glue around certain seed pods, especially for the jack pine, and it releases those seeds so that they can grow. Without a forest fire, that wouldn't happen, right? And then certain other trees and plants need really difficult soil, hard, rocky soil that's really hard to like dig into. As a result, it forces the development and activation of enzymes, and it gives them the kind of bark they need to thrive in that climate. So everything in nature, if you could really be inside nature, and it'd be like, holy moly, it's really intense, and it's cathartic, and it's catastrophe, and it's breakdown, and it's storms, and it's weather, and it's fires, but it's all working to produce more and more and more of potential. And the same is true with our life. And the challenge with our life is that we have self-consciousness. So we have metacognition, the ability to think about what we're thinking about, and to look at ourselves objectively and go, this hurts, this is terrible, why am I going through this? This isn't fair. But nature doesn't do that. The tree doesn't go, why am I in a forest fire? It's not fair. Why, God? Why have you forsaken me? Right? But we can do that. And so, which is part of our gift, but it's also part of our challenge, because we can make up a lot of stories about the stuff we're going through. And then we are lost because it's done unto us as we believe. The law of mind, if we're making up a story about it, we become enveloped in that like a bubble. It's like a matrix. We now become cast as a character in a story that we've created, and we experience it as reality. And so we don't experience reality directly or reality as it is. We experience reality as we are. So we experience reality through the filters of our own perceptions, beliefs, and stories. And then that becomes a feedback loop that gives us a projection on the screen of our experience and says, look at the movie you've made, right? And so we're experiencing what I say, it's a relative perception and projection of the infinite perfection, right? And so the work that we want to do is we can love the story, we can accept it, we can be like, wow, that's an interesting story I've been living, and that's a really interesting story I've created. And like a great actor or a great director, let me understand the deeper meaning of it. Let me understand the deeper theme of it, so I can really use the value of it and get the lessons from it and the blessings. But as any great actor knows, I'm not the part I'm playing. I'm more than that. And so I can sit back as the actor, as the author, as the director, and I can value the gifts of the stories all around me and see the divine wisdom like there is in every great play. But I can be free, and I can come from a more expanded place, so that I'm fully expressing that, but I'm not lost in it, and I'm not limited by it. Because then I can now go, okay, I'm done with that story. I've played the broke artist. I've played the person that nobody appreciates and respects and values. And I've learned, let me get all the lessons. Great. Now I'm going to play a part that everybody appreciates and respects and values. You can do that when you know you're not the character and you're not the story. You're the author, you're the actor, you're the director. So that's another fun way to look at how our problems and our challenges and our pain, there's a gift in them. And if we use it, we can transcend it, and actually awaken to a bigger story, to a truer story, and begin to unlock our deeper potential, right? And because again, whatever story you're telling, no matter what you do, it's gonna end based on the story you keep telling. So, if you're telling a story of lack and struggle and you never have enough, no matter what things you do to try to have more abundance, it's gonna have to end up with you not having enough, because that's the premise of the story you're telling, right? And that's why there's an old axiom that says, to he or she who is wrong in mind, they can do all the right things, it's going to still turn out wrong. But to he or she who is right in mind, knowing the truth, they can even do the wrong things and it will eventually turn out right. So, and in a time like this, where we're in right now, where the stories are getting attacked, they're breaking down, a lot of our ways of working is not working anymore. This is an optimal time to start telling a new story.
So well said. And, you mentioned that sovereign power that we all have, and that inner leadership that we need to bring online, because clearly our world leaders will not gonna bring us to the promised land. I think we all know it by now. And it's really about creating that power from within, because we are all connected to the cosmic universe, call it God, all that is, goddess, Allah, it doesn't matter. We all have a direct access, and it is from within that we can turn on that power and have an inner leadership, which we can then shine upon others, share with others in a healthy way.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I talk about it as we start with an understanding. We have to know ourselves. And as you have a greater and greater understanding, it develops into an inner standing. You have an internal stance and strength and integrity. You're no longer a house that is divided, because you know yourself and you're now integral. And when you have an understanding, you get an inner standing, and then that leads to a powerful outer standing. You can stand out, you become outstanding. You have the strength to be in the world as the world is going like this, and you're not enough, you're too much, you can't do that, who do you think you are? Whatever, that's all that coming at you, but you have a powerful outer standing because you have a powerful inner standing, because you have a deep understanding. So it starts with know thyself. Above the Oracle of Delphi, it doesn't say make 6 figures and you'll be happy, or get more clients and you'll be happy, lose 10 pounds. It says know thyself. And so there's only 2 major principles, kind of like Karate Kid, wax on, wax off, and that is know thyself and to thine own self be true. So know yourself, be yourself. That's the mantra. Know yourself, be yourself. Know yourself, be yourself. That when you are doing that, you become an individual that is in integrity with the divine seed within you. You are no longer serving 2 masters. Okay, I'm going to try to do the right thing, but what about this? And I want that, but what about? No, it's know yourself. You become a house now that is in integrity, and then be true to yourself. Say yes to your yes. Honor your truth. Speak your truth. When? Always. Meaning, honor the truth about you as best as you can in service of the highest truth, no matter the cost. And for most of us, the cost is small most of the time, right? And then there will be opportunities where the seeming cost will be big. Like, I'm going to say no to my children because I'm always saying yes, and because I don't want them to not like me, and I don't want to be a bad parent, and I don't want to feel bad about myself, and blah, blah, blah. I'm going to have a strong boundary because it's the right thing. I hate you, you're a terrible mom or dad. And so that's the cost. Short term, I'm going to have to sit with that pain and that shame and that guilt. But over time, I'm actually modeling something that is a better act of love and leadership. And then I'm going to go to my partner and I'm going to speak my truth as much as possible, taking responsibility. But I'm afraid they're going to get mad at me. They're going to reject me. They're not going to like me. And sure enough, they get triggered, and I got to hold myself, and I got to come back again and again and again. But eventually what'll happen is people treat you not the way you want, but they treat you the way you treat yourself. We train people how to treat us based on how we treat ourselves and ultimately how we also treat them. So we don't have to demand love and respect. We end up commanding it. That's true leadership, because we are honoring the truth, even and especially when there's a seeming short-term cost. Or maybe it's, I want to write this book, but who am I to write a book? And people are going to judge me, or I want to create this program, or whatever the case may be. There's a cost in the short term. So that's what it really means to be a leader. We have to start by being the leader of our own life, which is what I believe you were touching upon.
Mm-hmm. Yes, you are so spot on. I really feel that it is about knowing ourselves through what we are experiencing, and also having that inner compassion for our humanity, right? I think this is also a point that I would like to touch on, because as human beings, we are not perfect. And we are also meant to feel the entire spectrum of feelings, and also have that inner kindness, inner gentleness, inner compassion for our journey.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a big part of the knowing ourselves. It's difficult to love something you don't know or understand. And it's very easy to fear or to hate something you don't understand, right? That's actually an evolutionary thing. We fill in the gaps. When we don't understand something, we fear it, or we fight it, or we flee it. We don't like it. We make up stories about it. Like in the old days when we didn't know what was out there in the world, the map makers would just put, "Thar be dragons," right? So they would just create, there's monsters over here and dragons over there and the cyclops over there, and then you just fall off the earth. So it was like fear, lots of scary stuff was out there. So when we don't understand something, we fear it or we hate it because it's dangerous. And the same thing, I mean, fundamentally applies with ourselves. So all the parts of ourselves that we judge as bad or ugly or not good enough or stupid or lazy or fat or whatever, terrible, evil, bad, all of that is a part of ourselves we don't understand. We think we do, but we don't. And it's not our fault. It's a legacy of judgment. It's all the way back from the allegory of the Garden of Eden and judging good and evil and falling from grace and innocence and beginning to label things good, bad, good, bad, good, bad, right? Jesus taught about this, Buddha taught about this, that we have to unhook ourselves from this wheel of karma, which is the wheel of labeling good and bad, good and evil, because then we're going to crave after the good. We're going to fight and die and kill for the good, and sacrifice ourselves for the good, or we're going to fight and die and kill against the bad. And meanwhile, our real self and our real peace and our real innocence and our real freedom is sitting back here going, what about me? We're so busy out there trying to fight and die for the good and fight and die for the bad that our real life is just sitting there waiting for us to come home again. And so that's going on inside of us. There's a war, and we can only win it within us. And that starts by not trying to kind of new age, let me just love myself. That's okay, but it's really hard. Again, go love that stranger down the street that's all dirty and gross and smelly. Go try to do that today. It's going to be difficult, right? You're going to be like, I'm not getting near that guy. I don't know who he is. Well, that's the same thing with parts of ourselves. So we have to be with those parts of ourselves. We have to get curious. We have to be like, ooh, wow, you really want my attention, don't you? Let me sit with you. Let me understand what is underneath that feeling. What is underneath that story? Where does it come from? And I actually teach people that mostly in the shadow work that I do, because it's really a lot of shadow, right? And in fact, they can get a free shadow meditation if they just go to my site. But But that's an important part of understanding ourselves, is understanding, as we grow up, we go through experiences, and then if it hurts, we say that's bad, and we repress it, or we cut ourselves off from it. And if it feels good, we say, okay, I'm gonna, do that. And so we've kind of created that within us, and we have to unpack that. And one of the other ways to know what those places are, it's just, all the people and things in the world that trigger you. It's like, there you go, that's showing you. And I'm actually writing a book right now on shadows. And we have to become trigger happy, meaning when we get triggered, we get excited. It's like, ooh, there's something to know about me here. There's a piece of me, there's some gold buried underneath that trigger. And if I just be still with that and not blame the person right now, it doesn't mean people aren't doing bad stuff, meaning destructive stuff, and that we shouldn't handle that when we need to. It just means if it's triggering us, if it's making us scared, angry, we're losing our sense of sovereignty as a result. We are giving our power away to something or someone. We're not able to stay our own course. That's a trigger within us. And so we want to stop and be with that and ask that part of us, what do you really need? What's really going on here? What do you really need from me? And where are you coming from? And understand it. And then as you meet the legitimate needs of that part of you, you start to have a relationship and you start to understand that part. And if you look closely, you'll discover that you think is an enemy within you, the angry part, the bitch, the jerk, the selfish part, the greedy, needy parts. If you look closely, you'll see that they're a part of you early on that you got labeled bad or you experienced in someone else, but they've been your ally all along. Like the selfish part that you rejected, which is a lot of us heart-centered people, we don't want to be selfish. We want to be good. We want to be spiritual. And because to be selfish, to make it about me, feels like shame and guilt, and people aren't going to like me, and I'm going to get rejected. And what it's caused you to do, if you have that shadow, is you decided to try to become more loving, more generous, a better person. And as a result, you developed a more loving, kind disposition towards other people, right? As a result of you rejecting the selfish part of you. So it's been an ally in you developing that other side of you. But as you understand that, you start to go, oh, well, my selfish self then is my friend. It's been helping me. And now you can begin to embrace and give your selfish self a seat at the table and start to now become really loving and generous to yourself, right? So that's how these shadows or these polarities within us work. You need both polarities. You need selfish and selfless. You need giving and greedy. You need, unworthy and worthy. These are polarities, the positive and negative charge, like on a battery. You can't plug in a battery with just a positive charge. It doesn't work. The positive and negative, masculine and feminine, doesn't mean good and bad. It just is the type of polarity. And when those are reconnected, you have a circuit. And when you have a complete circuit, selfish, selfless, selfish, selfless, selfish, selfless, you have circulation of life, of energy. And when you have more circulation of energy, you have more abundance, more growth, more life, more manifestation. And so wherever we're struggling with prosperity or manifestation or success in any area of our life, there's a broken circuit. There's some way in which we have decided one aspect good, one aspect bad, right? And it's a broken circuit. So there's no circulation. There's stagnation. There's stuckness. And so understanding, meeting those parts of ourselves and understanding them and reintegrating them. And then, if let's say you're working with the selfish self and you're like, oh, I can't be selfish. I can't just do what I want. And you ask that self, what does she need? And she says, I need to take an hour. I need to take more time for myself. It's like, okay. It's like, what kind of time? Well, I need to take an hour every day to just be alone and meditate or exercise or walk. It's like, okay, well, my husband's not going to like it. My kids aren't going to like it, whatever. And you're like, okay. And then you actually do that. You actually embrace that. And you ask that part of you. And if I really allow myself to do that, what could be possible in my life? And it will start to speak to you and guide you in a vision that is much brighter and bigger and bolder than you've imagined. And one by one, as we do that, we are understanding, we are gaining that inner standing, because now we're integrating all these circuits. And now that sovereign agency that we have, we now become a grand circuit for the divine. Now, because God, life, love, it's not holding anything back from us, ever. There is no God, no life that's going, well, I'd love to give you more, but you need to change. It's not doing that. Just like the song on the radio is not going, I'd love to play my music, but you're not tuning in. It doesn't wait for that. It's playing. So God or life or love or wealth or health, it's like broadcasting. It's pouring itself always right where we are. But because of these broken circuits, can't get through, right? Can't get through there. It can't get up here. It's getting stuck in places, and then it's manifesting as stuckness and stagnation and lack and limitation and pain and all that. But as we repair the circuitry within us by loving ourselves, by understanding ourselves, by integrating and creating more of the polarity, the giving and the taking, the loving and the holding, now more life, the life that's always happening. If we fix our radio, we repair all the circuitry, and now the music can actually play through us. And that's another example of emergence, because notice in that scenario, we're not asking God to help us. We're not waiting for the world to change or help us. We're not being a victim and saying, I don't have it, or, and we're also not waiting for some future condition. We are becoming the condition. We are becoming the change we want to see. We are coming into integrity with what's true about us. And then it emerges. It starts to blossom. And it might look like your kids changing their behavior, or your husband or your wife or your boss, or you might suddenly get a windfall or get new clients. It'll come through the channels of the world, but it must come from your consciousness, your soul, because that's where it is, right? Jesus said it, the kingdom of heaven is within you. Buddha said it, nirvana is within you. All the great masters say it in some way, shape, or form. It's within you. And it's not out there, and it's not visible, and don't judge by appearances. Go within, make that contact, build that relationship, develop that inner structure, and then it'll manifest.
Wow. It's you just have such an eloquent way to bring it into understanding those polarities that we have to integrate. And the story that, coming back to the story which we started this conversation, that many times keeps us locked out of the actual real story of our life, right? Because this is the work of our life, is to integrate all those parts of ourselves, and then we share it with the world in whatever way we want to share it, right? There's no one way. There's, as you said, infinite ways. There's no right or wrong, of course, again. But the real work of us here is to integrate all those polarities and the biggest dichotomy is the human and the divine. the material and the spiritual, the feminine and the masculine. I mean, this is all opposites that we integrating within. So this is their work, right?
Yes, absolutely. You have to win the war within you. The only place you have to win any argument is within you. The only place you can find the buried treasure is within you. And it doesn't mean you don't take actions, because actions are a part of integration. Like, for example, if I say I believe God is all there is, or love is all there is, or life is abundant, and I do the work to feel, there's 4 categories or 4 quadrants, the habits of thinking, feeling, being, and doing, which makes up our character. So if I say, I believe, and then I'm feeling abundant, but then I don't act like an abundant person. And then I go to invest in my business and I go, well, I can't afford to do that. Well, you've just rendered powerless and moot all the other work you're doing. Now, it doesn't mean go spend $1 million or go try to walk on water, but there's always a next step of saying yes to your yes and integrating yourself. In other words, faith without works is dead. You have to act based on the truth you are knowing and believing. If you wait for the appearance to change, you'll be waiting forever, because what's missing is what you're not giving. You understand? What's missing is what you're not giving. The fruit tree doesn't wait for somebody to come along and hang fruit on it. It goes and it pushes the fruit out. It blossoms, right? The little plant in a little pot doesn't go, well, I'm going to grow really big when I get put in a bigger pot. It will never get in a bigger pot. It'll stay in a little pot. So it's like, I'm going to grow as big as I can in this pot. I'm going to find all the food. I'm going to stretch my branches. I'm going to dig my roots. I'm going to fill out this pot. And what happens? It finds all this hidden nutrients and it starts to grow and expand, and it grows out of the pot. And the farmer goes, well, let's put it in a bigger pot. Same thing is true with us, is we have to flourish and flower and fill out the pot we're in. Whether it's the job you hate, or the relationship that's not good enough, or your body, or the economy, the key is using everything we're talking about and using your greatest desire. Who would I be if I was living that? How would I feel if I was living that? What would I begin to do if I was living that? And then we start to be and do and pour and show up. I was walking around giving talks in my underwear to my plants before anybody else was listening to me, right? And my plants started looking good, right? And then I'm giving talks to my cat, and my cat was like, I'm out. And it's like, eventually somebody showed up and I put on some pants and they listened, right? So you have to start where you are. And like in relationship, you can't wait for the other person to love you and validate you and respect you and appreciate you if you're not filling yourself up with those qualities. Ask, if I loved, validated, respected myself, how would I treat myself today? How would I show up to them today? Or to my boss, or to my job? If this was the job of my dreams, how would I feel? Who would I be? How would I show up to that job today? Like I talk about in the Abundance Project, the book, where I showed up to my job as a waiter in a 3-star restaurant, but I gave 5-star service. I treated them like they were in the most expensive restaurant on the planet, and like I was living the job of my dreams. And I grew out of that. I got fired 3 times because I kept growing and expanding and doing excellent work, and nobody trusted me. They thought I was trying to steal their job. The waiters were mad because I was making them look bad. The manager thought I was trying to get her job. But what was happening was I was expanding energetically beyond that place. And a month later, I got hired. I went from making $50 a day to $1,500 a day. And I went from serving people in a 3-star restaurant to being wined and dined in 5-star restaurants all over the country in a month. The work happened on the job, not in the month after I got fired. I was showing up. I was filling it out. I was repairing the circuits. I was getting in integrity with myself. I was taking responsibility, and I was like, this is my moment. I'm going to shine, and on and on and on. I can give you many examples, how we got my first house, how I grew my business, what I did when I lost my child. I mean, talk about a tragedy and a loss. When I lost a fortune, I lost millions of dollars, all of this. And all, for me, that's like PhD level. I do not wish that upon anybody else. But there's an opportunity to be more love, more light, more beauty, more compassion, more generosity. I remember when I prayed to have more patience, and I ended up in rush hour traffic for the next 6 months. And it's like, you want to find out how patient you are? Be in rush hour traffic every day. And you're like, I was a monster. I was so angry and frustrated. I'm like, this is not what I prayed for. And God said, it's exactly what you prayed for. How else do you think you're going to develop your patience? And so I got very patient. And by the end of that 6 months, my car ride was a university and a monastery on wheels. I was learning, I was growing, I was praying for everybody. I was in heaven. I was in bliss. And then I was done with the traffic. And then that job was over, and then I was back home again. So that's what's our opportunity right now. Whether it's the world you're going through, or you've gone through something in your personal life, or you're going through something, if you listen to this and listen again and again and find a way to begin to tap into that deep heart's desire and that dream or vision, and then begin to ask, how can I begin to be more of that and bring more of that? And by the way, I know I'm going to give away some things. I'm going to add another thing when we get to that. I'm going to give away another thing because it's going to help them really do and put these pieces together.
Sure. I'm sure we just touched the ice,
Scratch the surface. Yep. Tip of the iceberg.
It's so many things you said here. And as you suggested, I suggest that too, that please go and rewatch it, because there is so much gold in what was said here. And we have to bring this amazing conversation to a closure. So let's maybe talk about your wonderful gifts that you leave in the audience with, where they can go deeper with you and find out more about your work. I'll have all your details on this page, your website, and your podcast and everything, because what you are doing and the message that you're delivering in such a wonderful way is so timely and so needed, and I am sure it's gonna shift and transform many people. So thank you so much for what you're doing, and I'm looking forward to hear what you have to share with our audience.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, I really want. Well, let me just share it, and then we'll close it up with some final thoughts. But so first of all, obviously they can go to my website, but like you said, it's it's the new Netflix. No, it's not quite that full, but I'm going to also be giving specifically them the self-mastery breakthrough, which will begin to do some of the things we've been talking about a lot, because we really have to master. The mastery over ourselves is the only thing we ever really have to master, because as you do that, everything flows through you, everything flows from you. And as Confucius said, all men are alike. It is their habits that separate them. And so self-mastery and building the inner life and the inner structures and the inner habits and all of that, as we already said, the understanding, the understanding, is the foundation upon which everything flows, right? It doesn't matter how great your wallpaper or your chandelier or the kitchen you want if you're building your house on a bad foundation or a shaky one or no foundation. So that's the first part. And then I'm also going to give them how to turn your life, your problems into your legendary purpose, which is the beginning process and understanding for how to look at your life, how to see and decode your life's work, which is hidden and encoded in your life story. And how to begin to, as I like to say, the workshop you've been living is the one you're meant to be giving. Again, whether it's literally a workshop or in any field or endeavor. It's all there. So I'm going to begin to help you see how to start reading the story of your own life and see the gift in it, see the lessons in it, see the blessings in it, and see how you can begin to use that consciously as a way to give your gifts to the world. And ultimately, for those of you that want, give them to the world in a way that is successful, give them in a way that is profitable, et cetera. So that's the beginning structure of that. I'm also going to add, it'll be inside the portal when you join, when you come through here. I'm going to add in your toolbox another training called the Character of Success. And that is going to show you how to take the vision of the life you want to create and how to break it down into the habits of thinking, feeling, being, and doing, and start to design a life that is congruent, that is in integrity with the life that is trying to emerge for you. So you're going to get all these tools and trainings as my gift today to get you started. And I'm really excited for you to, get these pieces, because they're really, really important and foundational.
Thank you so much. This is very generous of you. And I'm definitely going to grab all of it and go through it myself. I totally resonate with every word you're saying. And I can feel it hitting, every cell of my body, and shivers running through as you speak. So yeah, thank you so much. And
they can also get as you mentioned, there's obviously a podcast. They can see all that information on the site. If they want to just listen to podcasts as well, there's dozens and dozens, really hundreds of trainings there. And obviously I have a couple books out there if they want. All of that they can find on the website.
Right. Yeah. So all the details will be here. And let's close with some closing thoughts. Any takeaway you can leave us with?
Again, kind of ending where we began. We're in very interesting times. And wherever you're listening to this, if it's now or 10 years from now, it's going to be interesting times, because we're always going through interesting times, at least individually, if not collectively. And I really want to impress upon you all that everything I'm talking about today, none of this is theoretical. None of it is just some cool, trendy idea, some new age gobbledygook, or some self-help BS that is just kind of how to win friends and get rich quick and all that stuff. Everything I'm sharing with you is principles. They're the ancient teachings and truths that have come through all the great religions and philosophies, just distilled in a way that hopefully you can understand in modern terms. But also, they're principles I've lived and breathed and proven. So there's a frequency, there's an embodied frequency that if you can lean into this, you can have an accelerated activation. I'm not just regurgitating some cool stuff from a book. As I said, what I've gone through over the last two or 3 years, a lot of people don't recover from. Men jump out of buildings when they lose their fortunes or lose millions. People never get out of bed when they lose their children. There's a lot of stuff. And not only am I out of bed and not jumping out of windows, but I'm more creative. I'm more prolific. It doesn't mean it's not difficult. It doesn't mean I don't have hard days. We all do, right? But I have the tools and I understand what it is and how to take that has seemingly died and allow it to make the ground of my being even more fertile soil, and how to even give even more and open my heart even more. So I just want you to know, wherever you are, whatever you've gone through, maybe it's even more intense and dark than what I've experienced, this works. I guarantee it. And so you can find hope and you can find a sense of possibility. I'm not going to, again, I want to be very clear. It doesn't mean it's easy. Anybody that tells you do this work is easy is lying to you, or they've never done it. But I'm telling you it's possible. And what is your alternative? You can stay stuck. You can stay worried. You can stay afraid. You can keep going in circles, doing the same thing, expecting a different result. That's called insanity. Or you can feel the truth and the authority of what I'm saying. And you can say, okay, I can create a new story for my life, no matter what, and live a life of abundance, of purpose, of meaning, of love, and of true fulfillment. I promise you that that is not only possible, it's already the music playing on your station. And as you go through this process, you're in my heart, you're in my prayers, and I'm giving you the tools to start to tune into that music and start dancing and singing your song like there's no tomorrow. So
beautifully said again. And I second everything you said. I think I'm also a living, breathing example of somebody that transcended very difficult situations in life and came the other side, able to give a helping hand to so many others. And yeah, I know that what you speak is the absolute truth, and I share your blessings and really hope that everyone that is listening will find their own guidance and how can they transcend their life so that they in tune with their own music, as you said.
yes, absolutely. They can do the abundance.
Abundance, I like it.
Yes. The transcendence.
Yeah.
A lot of dance steps. Yeah. Let's dance.
Yeah. And it is a dance, right? Life is a dance.
It is a dance. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. It's been a true honor and a pleasure. And yeah, I look forward to what unfolds.
Yeah, me too. And thank you again for what you're doing and what you bring, and for showing up and shining your light. Thank you so much. Bless you.
Much love to you and to everybody.
Ciao now.